Welcome back, Truth Seeker. NFL Week 14 in review. It's Monday, December 10th, 2018. Let me make sure things are up and running. And if so, we'll get on with the review. So we definitely got some things to go over. All right, looks like the page is up. Let me make sure people are getting in here. All right, that all looks good. So 7 people are here so far. I'm sure more people will fill in as we go along. All right. I bet you at halftime, a lot more people jump in the room. Monday Night Football going on right now. So let's start with Thursday Night Football. Remember, we saw some riddles that went both ways with both teams, but then we thought deeply about them. We said, you know what? The way sports and news are connected, George Herbert Walker Bush is getting buried today. When he was president, the Tennessee Titans were the Houston Oilers. And we noticed that from the Titans coach's birthday, Mike Vrabel, from his birthday to the game was 3 months and 22 days later. And it was also from his 43rd birthday, where Yale's 43 and the Secret Society at Yale, Skull and Bones, identifies by the number 322. We said, you know, in light of this falling on the day of Bush's funeral, that's got to be the clue for the Titans. They probably will take this one, despite the numbers stacking on both sides. And lo and behold, that game started off with a score of 2-23, 3-2-2 in reverse. So we were right to use the news story. We read the narrative correctly. A news story that emerged the day after was a man drafted, or he wasn't drafted by the Houston Oilers, but a man who played for the Houston Oilers also died on this same day in history. That's no accident. We see that a lot. These primetime football games and death of former players the day of, the day before, happens quite often. It's also a death of an LA Ram on his 112th day of his age before the Rams fell to 11-2 this week. We also this week took into account the referee names. We were looking at the referees this week. We noticed John Perry had that gematria like George Herbert Walker Bush and George Bush. Not by accident. It's this scripted. So Jets at Bills. We favored the Jets in this one. We figured this is the one that would trick the bettors. The Bills blew out the Jets at their home earlier this year. Who'd think the Jets would be able to go to the Bills building and avenge themselves? But the big difference was Sam Darnold was on the field for this game, and Sam Darnold wears the number 14. It was week 14. The Jets did avenge their loss. And the other thing is Jets in gematria sums to 9. This game was on the 9th. We expected 9 to be big in the riddles this weekend, and it absolutely was. So both teams ended up with 9 losses in the loss column as well. It was the 9s that prevailed. Again, what was tricky about this game is there were some things that went in favor of both teams. So I did advise to stay away from this game, but in the end, it was the Jets. One of the tricky things was Allen. He could have become 4-4, and his name Allen equals 44, but we pointed out he could fall to 3-5, and QB's 35. Big number for the QB position historically. You know what? I'm going to go back to the Thursday Night Football game and just look at some of the things that stacked in Jacksonville's favor so we can just think about that in future weeks. Because it turned out they didn't matter. The stronger narrative was for Bush. But just for review, I mean, we got to look at the things that we were considering to learn from it. We noticed that we had 29 and 20 date numerology in this game, and Titans equaled 29 and 20. And we noticed if the Titans won, their record would become 29 and 20 all time in this series, which did happen. There was some good rhyme and reason to that. We noticed also that the stadium name equaled 76, and the Titans could improve to 7-6 as they did. The Titans could also improve to 5-1 at home in Nashville, and Nashville's 59. We noticed the full name of the stadium summed to 89, which was the 24th prime, and the Jags could have improved to 2-4 on the road. You see, that one's a little more abstract. The more straightforward ones is where it ended up at. You know, sometimes we can overthink ourselves. I've done it too many times to not know. What else was there? It was 74 days since the last meeting, which the Titans won, and we noticed Jacksonville equaled 74. That didn't go in their favor. We noticed the Jaguars could have picked up their 71st road win as a franchise, the 20th prime on the 20-date numerology. That didn't work. We were looking at Mariota's overall record. He was 25-29, and we thought, well, this game's on the day, leaving 25 days left in the year. Could he be stuck on 25 wins? Nope. He prevailed to 26. But we also noticed in the regular season that he could pick up his 25th win on this day, and that did happen. And more and more I start to think that when you're in the regular season, what really matters is the regular season. It does seem that the all-time record factors in here and there, but I think it is more about the regular season record in the regular season. It definitely seems that way with the coaches, and more often than not with the players as well. The coach, Doug Marrone, he was 32-33 all-time counting the playoffs and 30-32 in the regular season. We noticed he could pick up his 33rd loss in Tennessee, 137, the 33rd prime. And counting the playoffs, so his all-time record, he could have picked up his 33rd win. That didn't happen. He did pick up his 34th loss, though, all-time, and Tennessee's also 34. So it made more sense with both records with the loss, which is what happened. So yeah, that was a good pick there with the Titans. And also, we pointed out how the records would make sense both ways with both teams with the Titans win based on where they were going to for their next opponent. All right, so Jets-Bills, we were talking about this. Again, Jets had the Pier 9 gematria and the most pure cipher on the 9th. A lot of riddles with 9. It was the 116th regular season meeting. The Bills led 61-54, and we pointed this out. 61's the 18th prime. That's a good place to sit. And we noticed the Jets could pick up their next win, which would be their 55th, and the ref on the field was Alex Kemp, number 55, which was a big indicator. So we're not used to evaluating the refs so closely. We'll fall into these patterns more often, but the refs could be, you know, an indicator that really helps us take this to the next level. So the Jets did get 55 with number 55 on the field. And we looked at the modern era stats. The Bills were 29-22 at home against the Jets. The Jets could get 23, win number 23 on a date with 23 numerology. That did happen. That date numerology is always crucial. Darnold being number 14 in week 14, I think that mattered. He didn't play in the last matchup, Battle of the Rookies. And, something we were wondering about with Todd Bowles was he was already on 23 wins with the 23-date numerology, but he was able to advance, add another win in that column. We wondered if Todd Bowles' all-time record could matter because we did have 39-date numerology, big number in New York. He could have picked up his 39th loss all-time on the date numerology. And again, this makes the point I was just saying. It's probably best to just focus on the regular season record and for the team that they're with. We did see that McDermott could have picked up his 14th win in Week 14. That made that a little tricky. So ultimately, what it came back to was the overall team record, getting that 23rd win on the 23-date numerology, playing in the Bills' house, and getting that 55th win all-time with ref number 55 on the field. And, you know, I got to say, when I first started doing this work, I mostly focused on the team records and the immediate records in the season. And the QB stats are definitely important. The coach stats, again, like we said last week, they seem to be the third tier in terms of relevance. And do remember that this ref's name had a lot in common with the Bills as well, because Bills is 18, Buffalo Bills 45. 45, the 9th triangular number. Jets is also 18, though. Then the 33, 39 like New York. All right, Panthers, Browns. This one was tough, and I decided to go with the news. I couldn't lay off that news story because so often the news does intertwine with the sports. The film Black Panther was just nominated for the most awards for the 76th Golden Globes, and how perfect that it was on Cam Newton's 213th day of his age, where Black Panther equals 213. So, you know, that's what made me stick to the Panthers. It was wrong. We did point out that North Carolina equals 67 where they're from. They could have fallen to 6 and 7. They did. But in the past, I've gone with the news whenever I see the stories connect to sports, and it's done me well historically. So I don't feel like I was an idiot for going against the Browns pick, but a lot of you in the chat this week, you brought up really good points for the Browns, and you were right. So let's go back and look at what some of those things were. The Panthers led 4-1. You know what I realize now, and I actually thought about this during the thing. I should have spoke up. But I was riding too hard with that 76 Golden Globes thing. But I did notice that the Panthers could fall to 4-2, and we know about this number in Black history. And I was thinking that if the Panthers lost, they would lose 5 straight. And, you know, 5 has the gematria of 42 with the alphabetic order. So I was just being too stubborn on the Golden Globes thing. And again, for a good reason. But the Panthers have now lost 5 straight. 5 equals 42, and they fell to 4-2 in this series. So absolutely a racial component, but what makes it tough is, I mean, if they went 7-6, there's a racial narrative there too. The Million Man March was on the day, leaving 76 days left in the year. Negro, slave, blues, they're all 76. Here, let's go back and look at some of the other things too. I did point out that the Panthers could improve to 5-1, and Cleveland has the gematria at 33 and 51. Browns are 1-2 at home against the Panthers. It was 22 days left in the year. It's a big number, 22 men on the field. I was pointing out the Browns could make it 2-2 at home against the Panthers, and they did. But part of what I was thinking about, whoops, wrong. Whoa, I'm hitting the wrong buttons. Part of what I was thinking about is how Browns has that 91. Whoa, what's going on here? Where's your calculator, Derek? Okay, well, take my word for it. Browns has that gematria of 91, which is the 13th triangular number. So I was also thinking that, you know, they could fall to 1-3, and that would make sense. But no, it was about the date, 2-2 on the day, leaving 22 days left in the year. Cam Newton, we saw he was on 33 losses already. I thought he might stay there since he was in Cleveland, but no, he added 1 more. We also did point out, though, that he had 71 wins, and Browns is 71. So I was like, well, I guess he could stay on 71 wins. He did. And somebody did make a great observation. The last time Carolina played at Cleveland was a span of 2,934 days. Notice it's kind of like 29-34, and Cam did fall to 29-34 on the road. So very good thought there, and it was right. Let's see. Yeah, I couldn't get a lot from that regular season record in this case. Cam was 1-0 against the Browns. He's now 1-1. I guess with the Black Panther riddle, I guess there is something to 1-1. Black is 11. Cam is 3-3-1 against the AFC North. We pointed that out. That didn't really give us anything. We saw that he could get his 21st win against the AFC on a date with 21 numerology. That didn't happen. He did get his 11th loss. Guess that goes back to the black thing too, the Black Panther riddle. Mayfield. I thought it would make sense for him to fall to 3-7 against Carolina. He didn't. He improved to 4-6. It was his 10th game, and I did observe that 10 has the connection with Mayfield and the date. And the other thing we were talking about is how his college won the Heisman, just like how he'd won the Heisman a year earlier. Was that a sign that he was going to perform well? Well, apparently it was. And the thing I was saying about his 10th game is 10 is the fourth triangular number. Could he pick up his 4th win in his 10th game? Well, he did. Baker Mayfield's 239. The game was on his 239 days after his birthday. Like last year, he won the Heisman on his 239th day of his age. That was a big deal. This is a typo right here. It'll say 112. Baker Mayfield in 14 had the overlap. So he did have nice birthday alignment, but I thought Cam Newton being the Black Panther, I thought that was going to go in his favor this time. And another part of the thing I was thinking is how Baker Mayfield got this criticism for like sort of being racist, for making some derogatory remarks about Hugh Jackson after they got the white coach. I was thinking the Black Panther was going to come in and get the vengeance, kind of like how he does in the movie. Wrong. Mayfield is 1-1 against the NFC South. We pointed out that he could improve to 2-1 on the 21 date numerology. He did, but he could also fall to 1-2 against Carolina. We thought Rivera could get his 71st win over the Browns. Browns 71. Again, this is why the coaches, like even when they have the alignment, it's usually not them. Because, I mean, that would have been perfect for him to get his 71st win over the Browns. And Williams, he was in his 5th game. What did line up for Williams that really stood out was the game was 147 days after his birthday. Master Builder equals 147. The Master Builder number is 22. The game was on the day leaving 22 days left in the year. So that went back to the thing about making it 2-2 at home against the Panthers. Another thing that tipped me to go with the Black Panther narrative is the Black Panther Party was established in '66, and the ref on the field was Walt Anderson, number 66. BPP equals 47. Walt Anderson, 47. So, I completely understand why I made the wrong pick on this game. And even knowing what I know now and reviewing this, I might make the wrong pick again on this one. Because, again, you had the news story. So often the news goes with the sports. But there was some big clues here for the Browns, which is also why I explained why, this was a close narrative and why so many people did feel that the Browns would win it. So, tough game. That's how I'd chalk that one up. Falcons at Packers. Now, remember, there were a ton of things that stacked in the Falcons' favor in this game, but I said despite that, I'm going with the Packers because it's their 13th game of the season. There's the strong relationship with 13 and 99. Aaron Rodgers can get his 99th regular season win. And normally it's not good to lead with the coach, but when it's your first game with the team, that's a little more special. And what we were saying about Joe Philbin is he could get his 25th win all time over the Falcons. who are notorious with the 25, especially after Super Bowl 51, giving up the 25-point lead. And it was the Packers, and this game wasn't close. But if you went back and looked at it stat by stat, I mean, there were a lot of things here that were nice for the Falcons. So something we did point out is the Packers could get their 18th win in the series all time to close out 2018. That was in the Packers' favor. The Packers could have become 11-6 at home against the Falcons, and Packers is 116. You know, a lot of times things do go that way. So that was tough. This was the same type of stat we used to call the Raiders over the Steelers. But there was a little bit stronger alignment than just that. We did point out that Matt Ryan, he could have got his 45th win on the 9th, 45 the 9th triangular number, or he could stay at 44 against the Packers. Packers and Wisconsin both 44. So we did also point out that in the regular season, he could get his 43rd away loss in week 14, 43 the 14th prime. But then at the same time, he could have got his 44th win in the regular season. But what we came back to was, you know, he could also stay at 99 in his 13th game where there's that strong relationship. And what made more sense about 43 than 44 was it was week 14, 43 the 14th prime. Those numbers are peas in a pod. So another tough thing, though, that we had to overlook for the Falcons was Matt Ryan could have got his 77th win against the NFC, beating Green Bay. Green Bay 77, great team to do it against. And, oh, yeah, the ref helped us out in this one, too, because we pointed out that Rodgers could get his 65th win, and he had ref number 65, Walt Coleman. Walt Coleman, who also had gematria of 119 and 38 like Falcons. So we have to remember this. Just because a ref's name goes with the team, it doesn't mean that team's going to win. I think it's more about the jersey number they wear. More about the jersey. Rodgers was also 2-4 against the Falcons. We pointed out that Falcons was 25 and 34, so that could go either way. But again, it came back to that 13.99 on the 9th in the 99th NFL season. Again, it's always about thinking it through and finding that stronger number narrative. And I guess to go back just to the last game we were talking about, perhaps the reason that the Browns number narrative was stronger was because the 22 thing connected to the date. So often it goes back to the date. And, the date, the NFL week number, I would say as well. One other thing that we had to consider about this game is with the Packers loss, they could have fallen to 4-8, and Atlanta's 48. Just like how Atlanta's already at 4-8, which is what we used last week to determine the Atlanta loss. Ravens at Chiefs. I thought this was one of the easier picks of the week. The game was pretty close. The game was pretty close here. But what we liked about this was Chiefs equals 112. That was one of the things we liked. They could have improved to 11-2. 14, as in week 14, equals 112. There was actually a story that came out just before this game about how Kareem Hunt paid for a $112 Uber ride the night of the supposed altercation. So that was another thing that was floating out there. The ref was a big one in this one too, because the ref on the field was Tony Corrente, number 99. Patrick Mahomes Jr. equals 99. Arrowhead Stadium 99. 13th game, 13.99. KC 13. We also noticed that Tony Corrente was 62, like how Patrick Mahomes, without the junior, also has the gematria 62. And the what was it about 62? There was some 62 thing in here. Maybe I'm thinking about next week already. I've already done a lot of the decoding for next week's games. Okay, I'm probably thinking about next week. Excuse me. But we like the 11-2 thing in week 14 with the Chiefs. A lot of rhyme and reason to that. We pointed out the Chiefs led 4-3. It made sense for them to improve to 5-3 in the season ending in Super Bowl 53. And I'm just going to say this just to play a devil's advocate. I still like the Patriots in the AFC. You know, I'm not going to come off the Patriots unless they're eliminated, and I don't expect them to be. But keep in mind other narratives, so you're always fresh on your toes. The Chiefs becoming 11-2 and 5-3 in this series against a team that has some Super Bowl history. 112 is a big Super Bowl number. So it's just something to think about. I don't think they'll be there, but just keep these notes in the back of your mind. Because if the Patriots do get eliminated, you're going to want to know who the team is to go for next. And at this point, if I had to rank a second team in the AFC, it would probably be the Chiefs and then the Chargers, who are going to play each other next week. Okay. Another thing we point out is the Chiefs were 0-3 at home against the Ravens, which is pretty surprising. Arrowhead, they're known for doing well at home. So we said, okay, this is the perfect week for them to become 1-3 in their 13th game with all these 99s all over the place, the relationship with 13 and 99. And that did happen. Pointed out that Lamar Jackson was 3-0. He could fall to 3-1 against the Chiefs. Chiefs 31. That did happen. Mahomes could become 12-2. Kansas City 122. That did happen. This is the kind of game that this is the way you want to see your numbers when you make a pick. And again, I keep saying this each week, but historically, when I would decode games, there'd be a number of games like this each week. And you'd just be like, okay, I'm reading this one. This one's clear as day. This year, it's just so many times you decode and you're like, my goodness, I mean, this is really going both ways for these teams. So, but this was a nice, clear read in this game. And I will remind, I don't think I have it noted here, but somebody pointed out that if you counted Harbaugh's playoff games, Harbaugh could have picked up his 112th win all time. And they liked the Ravens to win this game. I think that was Seamus. And I said, well, I wouldn't do that because, you know, the playoffs, I think the playoffs blur the picture when you're in the regular season. I said, there's a lot of things here that favor the Chiefs. To just go off that one stat, I don't think that's going to work out well for you. But, yeah, I felt this was a really strong narrative here for Kansas City, and they did get it. So, yeah, those were the main points in that game. Again, the ref was a big clue. So, using these refs, we can already see that there's some nice nuggets that you get from looking at these refs. And it seems that their jersey number reveals a lot. All right, Patriots, Dolphins. This is my biggest regret of the week. And I even said as I was explaining in the safe picks, I said, oh, this game kind of makes me nervous. I mean, it's like the truth was leaking out of me. But what I was nervous about was the Patriots staying on 9 wins on the 9th in the 99th NFL season when New England equals 99. And it's funny, I was having this thought at the end of the game. I was like, well, I guess I was nervous for nothing. And then that miracle play happened, and I was like, oh, my God. But let's go back and look at this. Somebody pointed out that Rob Gronkowski, I'm sure you guys have seen my work on Rob Gronkowski, how he shouldn't have been on the field, and the game was 209 days after his birthday, and Miami Dolphins equals 209. Well, I guess it was a 69-yard touchdown play, and Rob Gronkowski also equals 69. So go figure. But let's go back and look at this. So we pointed out that New England and Miami both equal 45, which is the 9th triangular number. 45, the 9th triangular number. Russell Wilson just did one of those things at the goal line like he did against the Patriots. That was nice. Goodness. So something else that I did acknowledge is Dolphins in Florida are 43, the 14th prime, and this game was in week 14. The Dolphins led 53-50. I was thinking maybe they stay on 53 wins for this season. And Patriots is 53. And I think that was a good thought. I mean, it didn't happen, but that was one of the things that gave me the confidence to move the Patriots into the like column, despite that potential riddle with 9-9. Because again, I'll say this: every single week there'll be a theme, and you'll see how most games fall into that theme, like the 9 theme this week. But whenever these themes happen, there'll be a team or two that doesn't fit into that narrative, and you got to go, well, why didn't that team fit into the narrative? And historically, the Patriots have been one of those teams that break narrative because they win almost every game. So if there was going to be a team to break it, knowing what I know, well, the Patriots, they'd be a good one to break it. And Dolphins staying at 53 wins. And plus, it's the Dolphins' 53rd season, too. But that didn't happen. They got their 54th win. Counting the playoffs, the Patriots are 2-1 in the playoffs. So all time, Dolphins led 54-52. I was also thinking the Patriots could pick up their 53rd win all time, which made sense. The Dolphins were 37-16 at home against the Patriots. They got their 38th win. Dolphins in Florida is also 38. I was thinking maybe they'd stay at 37 since Patriots is 37. Instead, they stay at 16 losses, where 53 is the 16th prime. And then I also pointed out that we had a 59-date numerology, the 17th prime. The Patriots were in their 59th season, so I was thinking that made sense for them to get their 17th win. And for the Patriots to advance to 10-3, that looks like 103, the 27th prime. Miami has the gematria of 27. The Patriots had a chance to become 4-3 on the road in week 14. Instead, they fell to 3-4, and the Dolphins won with 34 points, and miracle equals 34. Now they go on to play Minnesota, who had the Minnesota Miracle. But I was thinking 4-3 made sense in week 14. 43, the 14th prime. I guess from the Dolphins' perspective, they became no. Wait a minute. Yeah, I guess from the Dolphins' perspective, they did become 4-3 against the Patriots. So I guess that could have gone either way. I should have thought more about that. That's a two-way street there. The other thing I liked was Brady. He could have become 233-99, 233rd overall win and 99th road win in his 13th game of the season. 233 is the 13th Fibonacci. 13-99 on the 9th. I did also point out he could have got his 41st away loss, the 13th prime. His 59th overall loss in the regular season on a date with 59 numerology. That did happen. That did happen. Brady was 22-10 against the Dolphins on the day, leaving 22 days left in the year, and he stayed right there at 22. He became 22-11 master numbers. 22 master builder, 11 master number. Brady was also 79-20 against the AFC East. I didn't think that one through all the way. 79, the 22nd prime on the day, leaving 22 days left in the year. He got his 21st loss on the 21-date numerology. Okay, so that was there. That was something I completely overlooked, it looks. I did point out that he could have got his 45th loss against the AFC on the 9th. 45, the 9th triangular number. Miami 45. That made sense. Tannehill stayed at 43 losses in week 14, got his 42nd win. Stayed at 17 losses on the date with 59 numerology. So Tannehill's stats made sense to stay, and they did. Tannehill did get his 13th win against the AFC East in the Dolphins' 13th game of the season. We noticed that the game was on Brady's 129th day of his age on December 9th, 12/9. America equals 129. We thought with the Patriots that was a good sign for Brady. Turns out it wasn't. And, oh, yeah, this is what I kept talking about with the ref. The game was 135 days after Tannehill's birthday, and the ref was number 135. So I don't think I'm doubting these ref numbers if they align. anymore. I think the ref is like the final judge, which they pretty much are on the field, aren't they? So I kept looking at that. I kept saying, I don't, is that a coincidence? No, it was not. It was not. And we did point out that Adam Gase, it was his 45th game, the 9th triangular number on the 9th. That did go in his favor. So as we can see, numbers that definitely went both ways. And in the end, you know, I guess maybe what should have been the tiebreaker was the judge number, the ref number. So we'll do that in future weeks. Hey, real quick, before we go on to Saints-Bucks, which was the game we got right, I want to look at the halftime score. I saw Russell Wilson just blow it on the goal line. Let's see. And remember what's up with this game tonight. This game's on Pete Carroll's 87th day of his age. He's going for his 87th win with the Seahawks. Seahawks equals 87. Monday Night Football equals 87. 12 equals 87, like Seattle's 12th man. But the hard thing is it's a 33-date numerology. MNF's 33, and Kirk Cousins is going for his 33rd win. And I just learned turning on this game that Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins had a big college game against each other. Maybe there was a big clue there. I see Wilson's got 44 yards at the half. Seattle's 44. Space Needle's 44. With his 39 birth numerology. Every week we look, the stats. You know what the numbers mean. You just see how they fit the riddle every week. Minnesota's got 43 rushing in week 14. Okay. To make a post out of that later. But Seattle and Space Needle 44. Wonder if the game ends up being 3-3, something to watch for in the second half in light of the 33-date numerology. All right, so Saints-Bucks. Again, Saints had a chance to become 11-2, like 112. 14, as in week 14, 14 equals 112. That did happen. We pointed out the Bucks could fall to 4-3 at home, like 43, the 14th prime. That happened. The Saints led 32-21 in Tampa Bay. They could pick up the 33rd win. Tampa Bay 137, the 33rd prime. That made sense. The 54th game, New Orleans and Drew Brees 54. That made sense. Something we were wondering about is could history repeat itself? Because in 2009, when the Saints went to the Super Bowl, they lost to the Cowboys, Bucks, and Panthers in consecutive weeks, and the schedule had that same arrangement this year, but now we know that's off. They lost to the Cowboys. They beat the Bucks. Can't be deja vu. Impossible now. I got a little mathematical here. I said this might be a little too much, but Brees could pick up his 153rd win. That's the 17th triangular on a date with 59 numerology, the 17th prime. It did work out that way. I'm not sure that's the reason it worked out that way, but it was just an observation. Let's see. We noticed he could get his 17th win against the Bucks on the 59 date, 59 the 17th prime. He already had 47 wins against the NFC South, and Tampa Bay's 47. He advanced to his 48th. So that didn't stop him. Winston. We noticed that he could get his 22nd win on the day leaving 22 days left in the year, or he could stay at 21 on the 21-date numerology. That was tough. He did stay at 21, so. And Dirk Cutter, the coach of the Bucks, it was his 45th game. New Orleans, 45. Drew Brees, 45. 45, the 9th triangular number. We noticed he could stay at 19 wins against the Saints with a loss, and Saints is 19. So, it was a pretty straightforward pick here. The only concern was the history. Could the Saints possibly repeat history? The ref also had the 59 name gematria to go with the date, and the 17s were in the favor of the Saints. So perhaps that's where this ref factored in. I didn't see how his jersey number corresponded with the game. The ref wasn't too useful in this game. His surname had gematria like Tampa Bay, 25 and 47. But not a lot going on there. Giants, Redskins. Dead wrong on this game. Chris was dead right. But I think Chris's Giants Super Bowl hopes are over. But he was right about this game. He liked the Giants to win this one. The date numerology had it for the Giants. New York and G-Min, 39 date numerology. What made me think the Redskins would win was this right here, the 99. On the 99th NFL season, Redskins 99. I thought it would make sense for the Giants to stay at 99 wins in the series in the regular season and become the first team to beat another team 100 times in the regular season next year in the 100th season. Well, that was wrong. So live and learn. But that's what made me go for the Redskins here. I thought the Redskins were a good read because of that. Well, they weren't. Let's see. It was Manning's 239th game, a prime number, special one. Let's see. I thought it also made sense for Manning to pick up his 112th loss in week 14 because 14 is 112. Washington Redskins is 112. I thought it made sense for him to get his 59th loss on the date with 59 numerology. Just look at this. I'm surprised again. I'm surprised again that I was wrong about this game. We did point out that Eli Manning could get his 98th win on Sunday, but I mean, he could have done that on any Sunday. Eli Manning's 98. I mean, can't say he won the game because of that. Sanchez, we thought he could get his 21st win on a date with 21 numerology. Then again, he could have got his 17th loss, which he did on the 59 date. I thought Sanchez could also get his 38th win over the Giants. G-Min 21, but it came back to the 17 in the 59 date numerology. That's what it came back to. Well, here was another one that Sanchez could fall to 4-7 in DC. DC, the land of 47. He did fall to 4-7. You know what? Just to play devil's advocate, though, he could have improved to 5-6, and Washington D.C.'s 56. This game and the Cardinals game are the two biggest surprises to me of the week. I don't think I could have picked this game right, honestly. Almost everything stacks for the Redskins in this game. I mean, the win record made sense. Manning's loss stats make way more sense here, I think. This game perplexes me. This game does not make sense to me. Okay, so here's a potential riddle that's going on. If the Giants win the rest of their games this year, they stay at 111 losses, a real special number to New York. New York's 111. If it's just some riddle like that, could be some riddle like that for something that's planned in advance. Just the numbers for this game, I mean, Redskins should have won this. Shurmur. Okay. Here's something that makes sense. But again, this would have been leading with the coach, and usually that's not the way it goes. Shurmur could have got his 14th win with the Giants, which he did. No, that's wrong. No, never mind. That's not even right. Week 14 equaled 58. Washington was 49 and 58. He had a chance to become 4-9 or 5-8. He did become 5-8. I thought Gruden in his 77th game, with that being such a big number in DC, I thought that'd be favorable for him too. So I just got to say, you know, this is a game that I'm going to get wrong. If the game goes this way, I'm just going to get this game wrong, honestly. That's just the thing you have to accept about this code. It's going to lead you to the promised land more often than not, but Giants should not have won this game based on how most of these games are scripted. So there must be some other riddle going on here. Either that or the NFL's watching us and messing with us. Because, you know, the date numerology was one thing. I mean, but this game just makes more sense with a Redskins win. Eli's record would have made a lot more sense. I mean, following the patterns that we saw all day, there is not much here that works out for the Giants. Okay, actually, here's just one. I'm just going back again. Sanchez could have got his 38th loss all time. He did. I guess there's a little bear there for the Giants, but it still makes more sense. I mean, his regular season record would have been perfect with the win. Eli's record would have been perfect with a loss. So I think that's just the game where you got to bite the bullet. The ref was number 51 in this game, Carl Sheffers. His name did have the Giants gematria. Giants does equal 38. Yeah. I don't know. That one was tough. Colts, Texans. Again, what did we say about this game? The Texans were on a 9-game winning streak that began with the Colts. 9 represents completion. The game was on the 9th. It's the 99th NFL season. Houston, where the game was, is Andrew Luck's town. That's where he played his high school ball. That's where his father played for the Oilers. And I said I really like the Colts to win that one. Just made too much sense with the 9s on the board and the meaning of 9. And somebody even pointed out that Andrew Luck's high school in Houston, Stratford High School, equals 99, which is true. Equals 99 in both reduction-based ciphers. And again, that was just reading these 9 riddles. And the other point we made is, you know, in light of HW just dying and having a big tribute with the Texans, they could fall to 9-4 like how he died at 94, which they did. So I thought that was a good read there. That's what it predominantly came down to. Pointed out that the Texans could also pick up their 12th loss at home against the Colts, where Andrew Luck, number 12, is the man there. Remember last year? Remember Houston equals 112 as well. So does Andrew Luck. So does Horseshoe. Even Andrew Luck's mother's name, Kathy Luck, equals 112. Last year, Watson and Luck were both put on the shelf on November 2nd on the same day. And I said, oh, look at that Houston riddle right there. So the other thing that I liked about this game is it was Luck's 89th game, and it was on his 89th day of his age, where 89 is the 11th Fibonacci number. Luck's 11. 11s and 9s, huh? Luck also picked up that 22nd away win on the day, leaving 22 days left in the year. He could get his 23rd win on the date with 23 numerology, which he did. He could get his 39th win on a date with 39 numerology, which he did. He could get his 45th Sunday win on the 9th, 45, the 9th triangular number. So there was quite a bit here that went in favor of Luck. And we noticed that Watson could become 12-7. I guess I didn't write this down, but we talked about it out loud during the decode. Watson could become 12-7, which he did, which is a lot like 127. The 31st prime in Houston equals 31. Guess he also became 7-3 at home, like 73, the 21st prime on a date with 21 numerology. But it was mostly about the 9 thing. The 9 was the big one. O'Brien had a nice alignment with the game too, his 77th game. Maybe we got to pay attention to something like that. Maybe coaches don't do well in their 77th game. I don't know a historical pattern, but I see it enough times. We did point out that O'Brien could have potentially got his 41st win in the 13th game of the season, 41 the 13th prime. But again, records in QBs before coaches. The ref in this game was number 52, and his name was 65. Point out that Andrew was 65, but then again at the same time, Deshaun Watson was 70. Deshaun Watson might also be 187. Let me check real quick. Oh, why is it coming on? Let me I just want to check this real quick. Eric texted me and he said he's been taking a break from gematria, but he said he's thinking about joining us. Or whoops, I'm going on the wrong thing. He said he's thinking about joining us next week for the football decode. So we'll see if Derek pops in. Yeah, Deshaun Watson does also have that 187 thing. So that ref's name did have some connections to Deshaun Watson, but wasn't in his favor. So the ref wasn't real helpful in this game, but there were some games where the ref gave us a big clue. So we'll take what we can get. Bengals at Chargers. This seemed like an easier pick of the week. The only thing to consider was the Chargers staying at 9 wins on the 9th. Let's go back and see what we saw. The Chargers could get their 21st win on a 21-date numerology. That made sense. The Chargers were 10-7 at home against the Bengals. They could become 11-7. Ohio's 117. 13 has the 117 connection. It just made more sense than 10-8. 10-8 didn't really have any rhyme and reason. LA's 13th game of the season. They could get their 10th win over Cincinnati, 10-39, Cincinnati 39, 39-date numerology. We also saw that Rivers could get his 66th home win, and Cincinnati was a good opponent for it. Cincinnati 66. So there just wasn't anything that was jiving with the Bengals. Just what was there was favorable to the Chargers. And the only thing to think about was staying at 9 on 9. But again, it's not going to be that way with every team when there's these overriding patterns. And the Chargers broke the mold. And what was favorable is they had a good team to get their 10th win against. You know, that's like the difference between their game and the Patriots game. The Miami Dolphins don't have a 39 connection. Cincinnati did. So, but there was 39-date numerology, which gave me hope for the Patriots. Some false hope. So there wasn't a lot there with that game. There wasn't a lot with the ref either. Ref didn't really help out with this one. Broncos 49ers. What I was so torn on this one, my initial thought was the 49ers were going to win because Kyle Shanahan was playing his father's old team and going for his 9th career win on the 9th, and I should have just stuck with that. The initial thought was right in this case. But when we looked at this, we started to think more. Well, I also pointed out that if the Broncos lost, the series would be 7-7, and when you write out 77, it equals 49. But then again, if the Broncos won, they would have been 8-6. Broncos is 86. Didn't I write it up here? Denver 68. The game was 8 weeks to the Super Bowl. When you write out 8, it's also 49. 49ers led the playoffs, so all time it was 7-7. Whoever got the win would lead 8-7. That's now the 49ers. The 49ers were 4-3 at home against the Broncos before the game. They're now 5-3. And should have thought more about that because we know how big that number is this year. The Broncos could have also, whoops, this was a typo. The Broncos could have improved to 7-6 in San Francisco. That didn't happen. I thought maybe Keenum would stay on 14 away losses since it was week 14. In the regular season, Keenum could have picked up his 14th loss, which he did do. Again, regular season seems to be slightly more important. Mullins. The name Nick Mullins is 43, the 14th prime. He could have fallen to 1-4, and he did not. He improved to 2-3. And really what I think it came down to for this game was the initial thought. It was actually about the coach in this case because it's a special circumstance. He's playing the team that his father was known for coaching. So, you know, usually the coaches are the less important variable, except for, I would say, in special circumstances, something like this, playing his father's team, getting his 9th win on the 9th in the 99th NFL season. And then the other thing I noticed about Shanahan was his birthday. The game was on his 360 days after his birthday. San Francisco equals 50 like circle. And, you know, life, cycles, circles, father. So I think it was just like how I read the Packers game. You know, the narrative that really mattered there was with Rodgers getting that 99th win and the coach because it was his first game. I should have used that same line of thinking in this game and just said, okay, even though there's things there for the Broncos, this game it's about history. And, you know, that's where we got to use our intuition and really think. So started out with the right thought, went to the wrong thought, but I advised to stay away from this game because of the way the variables were. So hopefully you took the 49ers and won. Eagles, Cowboys. Hey, did you guys see that big catch at the end? Somebody left a comment and said, hey, look at that, highlighted the big catch at the end. Those guys are standing right on a piece of tape on the ground like a stage marker. And it's true if you go and watch the highlight. But it looks like it could have been like a, you know, I don't know, something that fell off somebody's uniform. I wonder if that really was like a stage marker and that play was supposed to happen right where it did. Person had good eyes who pointed that out. If you go watch the highlight, you'll see what they're talking about. But let's go back and see what happened in this game here. I was thinking the Cowboys would be up to their old tricks, choking at the end. All right, so Dallas Cowboys was 43, the 14th prime, week 14. National Football League, 85. They had a chance to become 6-1 at home over Philadelphia, and they did. From the Eagles' perspective, we were looking at how they could become 3-3 away. Cowboys 33. It could have happened. It didn't. The Cowboys led 64-51, and here's what screwed me up. Here's what screwed me up was this stat right here. I was thinking, did the Cowboys have to get their 65th win in Philadelphia because Philadelphia equals 65? Because the Eagles could get their 52nd in Arlington, which they didn't. So just remember that in the future. I was starting to – this is the stat here that ultimately tipped me towards the Eagles. I was thinking that they'd get number 52 in Arlington. All time, the Cowboys led 67-52. I was also thinking that they might get their 53rd win all time, the Eagles, with this season leading the Super Bowl 53. That didn't happen. In the modern era, using the M-Cube stats, Dallas leads 35-20 at home against the Eagles. I probably said it out loud, but didn't write it down. Thinking the Eagles could get that 21st win, but it did not happen. Wentz was at 23 wins. He stayed on 23 wins on the 23-date numerology. I was also looking at that 9th road win on the 9th. That didn't happen. He did get his 17th loss, though, on the 59 date. 59, the 17th prime. We pointed out that he could get his 13th loss against the NFC in Dallas. Dallas is 13. That did happen. He stayed on 17 wins on the 59 date on Sunday. Pointed out that he could fall to 9-6 against the NFC East. Philadelphia Eagles 96. Then again, he could have become 10-5, like 105, which was the 14th triangular number. That was another thing I liked for the Eagles. Thought Prescott might pick up his 17th loss on the 59 date and his 9th home loss on the 9th. It was Prescott's 45th regular season game. He could have got his 30th win, which he did. Eagles 113, the 30th prime. Again, regular season. Theme we're hitting tonight. These regular season games seem to be more fruitful than the all-time records counting the playoffs. Dak was 3-2 against the Eagles. He could have become 4-2, which he did, or 3-3. Dak Prescott 42, Cowboys 33. On the 23-date numerology, we pointed out that he could get his 23rd win against the NFC. He did. Yeah, I should have, when I saw this, when I was first decoding before we did the conversation, I thought that this was real important right here. That the game was 133 days after Dak's birthday, and it was Garrett's 133rd game because football is 133. I think when we see combinations like that between the QB and coach, we got to really, really be mindful of that. I think that's an important connection. So Peterson had a nice connection with the game, too, for his team. It was his 313th day of his age. It's the 65th prime, Philadelphia 65. The thing, though, about Garrett's record was he could have picked up his 59th loss on the 59-date numerology. We noted you know what else? The refs. I think this may be the only game where the ref sent us in the wrong way. Clete Blakeman equals 76, and both teams would have been 7-6 with the Eagles win, which obviously didn't happen. So this game was a really tight narrative. I mean, I guess what I noticed in hindsight that stands out now, especially since it's over, is there weren't any stats other than Wentz getting his 9th win on the 9th, which was a big one. But there wasn't anything else in his stats that were that favorable. You know, a lot more things pointed to the loss. And then there was the special alignment with Garrett and Dak. So it wasn't the easiest pick, but just reviewing it, I feel like maybe I should have read the variables a little bit better. And it does seem, just like going back over this, even though there were some things that went both ways, there was more in favor of Dak picking up a win. His stats made he had more win narratives in his numbers than Wentz did by quite a bit. So, but that overall record, I would say, I mean, to me, the overall record would have made more sense with the Eagles win. So that's what it was. The overall record made more sense with an Eagles win based on what I know from doing this. The QB records make more sense for Dak. And perhaps that pairing with Dak and the coach, should have gave that some more weight. And just remember, I think with the refs, what we're seeing is it's more about the jersey number than the name gematria. Their name gematria maybe is not important. So, all right, Steelers, Raiders. We did a good job here. Raiders had a really nice alignment. Again, we're expecting Jon Gruden to win 99 games this season. That means he's got to win one more. So we got to figure out that next Jon Gruden W. I think they got the Bengals next. It could come as soon as next week. But what it was for this game, again, it came down to the records here. The Raiders could become 11-5 against the Steelers at home. 11-5, like 115. Raiders 115. And the game was on Gruden's 115th day of his age. So I knew that was juicy. And again, I mean, they had to give Gruden something. He's a household name in the NFL. His only wins were the Browns and the Cardinals, the two worst teams in the league. They got to give the Raiders fan base something. And this was it, probably. This will probably be the pinnacle of their season. It was the 23rd game on a date with 23 numerology. The Raiders were going for their 13th win all time in their 13th game. 13 equals 45 like Jon Gruden. What else was big here? Ben, he could get his 45th loss on the 9 date. 45, the 9th triangular number. That made sense. His overall regular season game had numbers that pointed towards the Raiders. He could get his 41st away loss in Oakland, which he did. Oakland 41. Ben was 2-4 against the Raiders. He could become 2-5 or have the Raiders be 5-2 against him. Raiders 52. That made sense. He was at 105 wins versus the AFC. That's the 14th triangular number. Made sense for him to stay on that number in week 14. And we also saw that he could get his 17th loss in December, Ben could. On the date with 59 numerology, the 17th prime. Stay on 41 wins in Oakland. Derek Carr, we saw he could get his 31st win over the Steelers. Steelers 31. The one thing was he could get his 21st loss on the date with 21 numerology, so that made it a little bit iffy. But we said, Ben's numbers make sense with the loss, so his win record could make sense with the win. Ben didn't really have anything going in his favor. There were some numbers in his other splits that made sense with a loss, but again, Ben didn't have anything. So that 31st win with the Steelers, that way it would work out. Saw that he could get his 9th win in December on the 9th. And ultimately what it came to, Gruden also picked up his 41st win in the team's 13th game of the season, 41 the 13th prime. So the ref didn't really help us out here outside of what we did suggest is his name did equal 98 and Gruden could pick up his 98th career win, which he did. Was that the reason Gruden picked up his 98th career win, or did it have more to do with, the 115 thing, which was the strongest variable on the board I saw? And usually when there's an alignment like that, things work out for the team. So Lions Cardinals. This game was another head scratcher for me. I thought both teams would get 9 losses, be at 9 losses at the end of the game on the 9th. And, it was a date with 39 numerology. Arizona's 39. They came into the game 3-9. We didn't know for sure who was going to start with the Lions, but Stafford or Castle, it seemed either way, their numbers were more fitting with a loss. Stafford could have picked up his 45th loss all time, the 9th triangular. He could have picked up his 42nd loss in Arizona. Arizona, 42. Josh Rosen, 42. Stephen Wilkes. It was Rosen's 10th game. 10 is the 4th triangular number. We thought Rosen could get his 4th win, or at least I did. We did point out that he could have fallen to 3-7 against Detroit, which he did. That was the one thing. That was the one thing there. I thought in light of the Catholic symbolism with the Cardinals, he'd improved to 4-6. I did also point out, though, that I guess he could fall to 1-4 at home in Week 14, which happened. But yeah, I thought the nines would play here. Again, it's the Cardinals' 99th season too, so that's why I liked the nines with the Cardinals in their 99th season, and the fact that Castle and Stafford, because Castle could have got his 23rd loss on the 23 date, stay at 17 wins on the 59 date. So this game surprised me a bit. There wasn't anything with the ref here that stood out. I just thought the nines would play in this game. The Cardinals have been a tough team this year. They have not been a good team for picks. They've been a team that's beat us up this year. So, yeah, that's just. I feel like that's another game where I got to bite the bullet. I mean, there was the one thing there, him falling to 3-7, but I thought the stronger narrative in his 10th game, because again, 10 is 39-42, like Arizona's 39-42, and all these 42s, and anyway. You win some, you lose some. Rams-Bears, one of our better calls of the week. Game I felt good about here with the Bears over the Rams. Getting that 9th win on the 9th in their 99th season, and the Rams falling to 11-2 in Week 14, 14-112. I talked about at the beginning of the decode, I'd gotten wind of the story of the Ram who died on his 112th day of his age. I thought that was indicative of what was coming. Seems it was. That player also died on the first day of Week 14. We had 2 former NFL players die Thursday night, the day of Thursday Night Football. One was a former Houston Oiler. One was a former Ram. We were talking about how 45 and 9 were big numbers with the Bears. Bears 45, Illinois 45, Cubs 45, Wrigley 45, 45 in the 9th triangular. It was also the 91st regular season match. And Chicago Bears is 91. Remember, they got Khalil Mack on 9-1. The Bears could get their 53rd win, like how Khalil equals 53, become 53-35. I thought that had some symmetry to it. You know, seems like a symbolic standing. They'd also get the 53rd win over the Los Angeles team. You know, the Rams weren't always in LA. They've been all over the place now, but Los Angeles 53. The one thing that was concerning is all time, the Bears could have got their 37th loss, and Los Angeles is also 37, so is Chicago. But again, that brings me back to that point about it seems that the regular season record is more important when you're in the regular season. In the modern era, the Bears were 10-7-1 at home against the Rams. We were thinking, is it an 11-9 thing? Do they get their 11th win on the 9th? We know how 11 and 9 go together. The product of 11 and 9 is also 99. Goff, we saw it was his 36th game, and Bears is 36. What we did notice is he could have got his 23rd win on a 23-date numerology, or stay at 22 wins on the day, leaving 22 days left in the year, and get his 14th loss in Week 14, which is what happened. Goff also had a chance to get his 13th loss in the 13th game of the season. That happened in 6th loss away, 13 the 6th prime. Could have also gotten his 13th away win. Could have also gotten his 23rd away, 23rd regular season win on the 23-date numerology. So there was something there for Goff, but again, The nines were the riddle, and Chicago and Illinois are big 9 cities. So you got to figure the nines are going to play with the Bears, and they definitely did. It was a 9-point victory. Somebody, Al, the man who calls in from Arizona, if you listen to my radio show, he called me this morning, and he's like, hey, did you catch that score 15-6? I said, yeah, I did. I said that what stood out to me was the 9-point win. He goes, oh, I didn't even think about that. What I was thinking about is how when you write out 33, it equals 156. And 33 seasons ago, the Super Bowl was Patriots and Bears. I said, oh, that is a good point. That is a good point. Goff became 3-2 against the NFC North on a 32 date. So again, notice how I put all these variables up here. I think the variable you want to go with, the one that's usually going to lead you to where you want to be, is the one that involves the date when possible. We noticed that Goff could become 4-6 in December or 5-5. Chicago Bears is 55. Chicago's 46. Remember, the Bears won that Super Bowl over the Patriots with the revolutionary 4-6 defense, 46-10. I think there was something that I forgot to mention here. Oh my God, it's killing me. SNF is it is. I don't even need to see it. SNF is 42 in reverse, the reverse alphabetic order. So Goff had a chance to fall to 4-2 in primetime on SNF, and he did. I didn't even consider that. I still like the Bears, but should have thought about that. Trubisky improved to 8-5 at home, like the 85-86 season for the Bears. Got his 12th win over the team from Los Angeles. That equals 37, the 12th prime. Chicago also has that 37 gematria. We were wondering if Trubisky, though, could fall to 2-2 against the NFC West on the 22 date. That didn't happen. Pointed out that he could become 7-9 against the NFC, like 79, the 22nd prime on the 22 date. So the ref here had the 112 name gematria too. But again, I think it had to do more with week 14 in the story of the death of the player. So the player and the nines is what took us to the promised land in this game. And Monday Night Football is ongoing. And looks like the score is 3-0 right now. So really it's anybody's game. Seattle's a 3-point favorite, huh? So, again, 87. This game's on Pete Carroll's 87th day of his age. He's going for his 87th win with the Seahawks. Seahawks equals 87, like Monday Night Football, and so does 12. I mean, normally don't lead with the coach, but when there's an alignment like that, it is hard to overlook. The problem is we have this 33-date numerology. MNF's 33. It's typically a 33 show. Still waiting to see if this game gets tied up 3-3, but it's not. The Seahawks are going to have to blow it down here at the goal line again because they're right down in Minnesota's territory right now. If you guys are watching the game, I have probably a 2-minute delay from what you're watching. It's 3rd and goal here. Wilson just took a big sack. So it's looking they might have to settle for a field goal. But anyway, Seattle Seahawks do have the gematria 43, the 14th prime. This is the last game of week 14. Remember, the Seahawks won their only Super Bowl with 43 points on the 33rd day of the year. The Seahawks in the regular season lead 9-5. Today's game is on the 10th. If they become 10-5, remember 105 is the 14th triangular number, meaning when you add 1 through 14. Seahawks lead the playoffs 1-0, so they lead 10-5 all time. The Seahawks are 6-2 at home against Minnesota. Looks like the score is 6-0 now. I guess we're not going to get that 3-3. But here it is with Cousins. For Cousins, it's his 71st game. He's 32, 36-2, and 12, 21-2 on the road. He can get that 33rd win on MNF on a date with 33 numerology. He can do it over the Seahawks that have 33 gematria. I wrote that up here. Just when you do the exception with K for its master numerology. He could also get his 37th loss, the 12th prime. You know, Seattle's known for the 12th man. The game's in December, too. December's 37. Today leaves 21 days left in the year. Notice he's at 21 road losses. If he gets a win, it's the Vikings' 13th game of the season. He'd stay at 21 losses, so that's tricky. Cousins is 1-1 against the Seahawks. He could fall to 1-2 against the 12th man, or he could become 2-1. So tricky there. He's 7-4 against the NFC West. If he lost, he'd be 7-5. Minnesota Vikings, his team this year, 75. He's 9-10 in December. He could become 10-10 on the 10th. Or he could fall to the infamous 9-11. He's never won on Monday Night Football. He's 0-6, but if he did win, he'd be 1-6, kind of like 16. 16 has the gematria 33. Russell Wilson, 121st game all time. He's 80, 39-1, and 46-13 at home. His next win will be his 81st, and Russell Wilson equals 81. We call that the ritual number. His next win at home is also his 47th, which is a big deal because Seattle's up there on the 47th parallel. Then again, he could get his 14th loss in week 14. We got 40 date numerology as well. He could get his 40th loss connecting to the date numerology. In the regular season, Wilson could get his 73rd win. That's the 21st prime on the 21 date. Primes in prime time. He would also get his 42nd win. Seahawks is 42 when you take into account the rules for S. Washington's the 42nd state. And don't forget, the only two black quarterbacks to ever win the Super Bowl both played for Washington teams. The Washington Redskins, who won the Super Bowl with 42 points, and then Russell Wilson, who plays for the 42nd state. I don't think that's any accident. Should have thought more about that when I was picking the Cam Newton game in light of the 42 on the board. Wilson could become 4-0 against Minnesota on a 40 date as well. He's 10-5 against the NFC North. If he got his 6th loss, Minnesota would be a good team to do it against because 6 has the gematria 52 like Minnesota. Seattle, WA is 106, just to think about the location. Wilson could potentially fall to 10-6. He's 54, 26-1 against the NFC. This game is on ESPN, and ESPN's 54 forwards and backwards with the ordinal ciphers. And again, he could get his 55th win over the team from Minneapolis, 55. 55 is also the 10th triangular number and the 10th Fibonacci number. Remember how big 55 was in the Super Bowl last year? Vikings just made a huge play down the field to number 14. It'd be funny if the final score of this game is 7-6 because the Seahawks would fall to 7-6, and their first season was the 76 season. That would be an in-your-face score. 13 points, 13th game of the season. I believe I heard earlier that when Kirk Cousins beat Russell Wilson in college, it was on a big pass, like a Hail Mary type pass. Wilson is 25-1 on primetime. He could get his 21st win on the day, leaving 21 days left in the year. He could also get his 6th loss against Minnesota, against 6-52, Minnesota 52. The game is on Cousins' 114th day of his age, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 114. The game's on Wilson's 12th day of his age, Seattle, the 12th man. Again, the whole riddle with Pete Carroll. Here it is for Carroll. He's 86-53-1. He could get his 54th loss on ESPN. But again, he can get his 87th win. Seahawks 87, 12-87. That's just using the alphabetic order. And on his 87th day. Zimmer, the game's 188 days after his birthday, and CenturyLink Field is 188. The field that's known for getting the better of opposing teams. Supposedly the loudest field in the NFL the way it's designed.